Well, I put up the hammock in the backyard primarily because Hubs wanted me to, and yet I have probably swung in it more than he has. Partly because he's out of town right now. He'll be back later today. And as long as he's not home, I'm going to take advantage of his absence. Something just settled there. Something just settled there, but fortunately I didn't fall out of it. So that's a good thing. It's also a good thing because some of the neighbor kids came over the other day and they thought it was quite fun to swing in the hammock. And it's very comfortable, by the way. It is very, very comfortable. So maybe tonight I'll do a little bit of stargazing. But before that, let's talk about today's Wednesday walkabout. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about do what I say, not what I do. Some surprises in the garden that have me excited. How in some ways this time of year is just really kind of awkward. It's very much a between times, between major bloom periods, or what I consider to be seasons, kind of a pause between subseasons. So there's a lot to cover. So what do you say?
I say
Let's do it. Okay, first of all, let's start out with some surprises in the garden. Some I kind of was expecting and some of them I was not. Number one, the Salvia argentea are in bloom right now, and I had never seen them in bloom, so I didn't know what they were going to look like. And they're just this kind of explosion of white spires, white blooming spires that are really cool looking. There's one over here. This is the most striking one. And boy, look, Stuart, let's catch this bumblebee in here. They are obviously great for pollinators, all a good thing. I will definitely be saving some seed because I know for sure I am going to want these in my garden every year. It seems to me that they act like a biennial, but I'll do a little bit of research on that. These were a gift from my friend Carolina Elizabeth, who brought me some starts. They did not bloom last year. They put out just this beautiful fuzzy foliage, but this year they have really exploded in this kind of fireworks display of white. I'm also anxious to see kind of what the seed heads look like when they begin to form. And it's kind of a nice counterpoint to the red salvia. So that was one thing that surprised me when I came out with my coffee cup in the morning the other day and I saw these all in bloom, kind of an explosion of bloom, if you will. Something else I was not expecting, well, let's talk about that when we get back. Okay, now you're going to want to make sure to stay till the end because we are going to have a new introduction, a new fixture of an introduction in the garden, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to talk about it at the end of the video. I'm excited about it and I am definitely going to need your help. So make sure that you stay tuned so you can come to my assistance. Okay, surprise number two. Hubs recently has been cleaning out his storage unit, and as I may have told you in the past, Hubs is kind of an amateur archaeologist slash anthropologist, as is often evidenced by what our great room in the back looks like. He had in storage a number of other things, artifacts that are beautiful in their own right. Whether or not they are beautiful as a garden ornament, I don't know. But when I came out the other day to look at the surprising Salvia argentea blooms, this is something else that I discovered.
It grew here.
that grew here, and that is, I think that's, what is that?
Is it a bull?
I'm not sure if it's a muskox skull or a bull skull or it's something. But this is just one of the skulls that I have seen that I am surprised by as I look around the garden. So, okay, that's my first question of the day. You guys tell me. This is definitely a more masculine vibe in the back than in the front. It's more Mediterranean. It's more Santa Fe-ish. This definitely has a Santa Fe-ish vibe. So give me your thoughts. Do you think it should stay or should it go? It seems like lately I'm asking a lot of that, should it stay or should it go now? Questions. This is one of them, and as some of the other ones appear, well, I guess I'll show those to you as well. So that's been kind of fun. Something else that has very happily surprised me is, for the first time probably, I really got lavender to overwinter. It looked like hell, but now I cut it back, and originally at the beginning of the season, And oh my gosh, it smells divine.
It really does.
It smells divine, darling. And the trick, I think, to lavender is planting a certain variety. By the way, phenomenal lavender, I understand, is a great variety to plant in our heavy clay, kind of our climate that we've got in Oklahoma, and just give it really good drainage. And when we planted it, we gave it several scoops of gravel. So I am happy about that. I am also happy about the tomatoes that I have on here, and I can't remember, did we show you these the other day?
I don't think so.
So I've got several tomatoes. These were all tomatoes that were started from seed by my buddy Jen, and down here at the base I've got all sorts of seedlings. Here is a seedling recognition example.
I can see from there.
Yeah, these are all basil seedlings. Now some of these I'll probably relocate in other areas, but some of them I hope to come up and just kind of spill out over the edge, and that's been kind of a fun thing. And then over here, my peppers are look, I've got baby peppers here. And by the way, if you are a new gardener and you want a plant that is an edible, an edimental, as I like to think of it, that is so easy to grow and that can really handle high heat and high sun, then you want to be a pepper connoisseur. I grow all sorts of varieties of them in my book, The Elegant and Edible Garden. I even talked about at one time creating a terrace of nothing but different kinds of peppers, because when they do come into bloom, and first of all, they put out these pretty flowers, but then the fruit itself is just so beautiful, very befitting, kind of a Santa Fe kind of vibe, and also in the distinctive color palette of my back garden. Love it. As you can see, my Eugenia has completely filled out now. It had a little bit of winter stress. I need to cut it back, and I will do that. I'll get out my scissors, and sometime this afternoon I'll probably cut it back. And as you can see right now, my little Miss Figgies are starting to explode. So here is another question of the day I have. I've been watching some YouTube videos. I've been consulting ChatGPT as to, and poor Stuart, he's dealing with mosquitoes right
it's
now.
Quite all right.
We need to get the mosquito spray out for him. I will consult both of those. Another way you can press technology into your service, and to see what I can do to get more figs off of my little Miss Figgy this year. So some of you have made suggestions in the past and are more experienced as fig farmers than I. That's another question I have for you. You guys are going to help me a lot today. I really want to start making the channel be a little bit more interactive. In other words, a little bit more self-serving, so you guys can answer things about gardening that I don't know, or give me input. So if you've got any recommendations on what I need to do to get them to put forth more fruit, then please let me know, because that will be important. That rain was just great to settle in some of the new introductions to my container plantings. There's that lantana, there's that beautiful Southern Living verbena. So this is fun, and I will just keep feeding it. Okay, so in deference to being more interactive, you ask and I will answer. How often do I feed my container gardens, my annuals, things like that in the course of the summer? Well, unless it's very hot, I give these a liquid feed twice a week. Now that may seem excessive, but with all the rain that we've had and the fact that they get watered so much in this heat, all of the nutrients, minerals, etc., in their small environment get leached out very quickly. So if I want lots of progressive, continual, abundant bloom, then I want to make sure that I give them a feed every other week. If it's in containers, I might use something just like Miracle Grow, or a liquid Espoma Bloom, anything that I happen to have on hand in the ground. Definitely I do try to use things that are a little bit more organic. But pretty soon all of these things are going to burst forth, because now that we've had rain, the heat and the warmth are starting to make their presence known, and I think most of the plants here in the back will be the happier for it. Okay, Stuart just asked me if I wanted to pull what I was going to show you out of the sun, but no, I'm not, because these guys require lots of sun to perform, and this is where I've got them kind of staged, at least temporarily, on my back swooping steps. And here is the progress of my tiny little boxwood basils in these sweet pots from Carolina Elizabeth. And now, I may have told you earlier that one of them rotted, but now these are really starting to take off. And then these are the little potatems, pots of thyme that I planted. I think that was last week, maybe on a Wednesday walkabout. And look at how they're really starting to fill out. Now, when I get out my scissors to prune my Eugenia in the back, I am also going to give this a little shear on the front. These are almost completely filled out on the surface. What has completely filled out in its entirety is the potatem that I have planted in the little bunny in the front yard, and I will show you that when we go to the front yard. Notice what I did not show you. What I did not show you was me getting out of the hammock. Just in case it wasn't very elegant. When we come back, I'll show you some other things that are starting to come into bloom, and what is definitely the next major sub-season of late spring, early summer. Really blinding sun, but again, I want to show you what environment I am in to make these Annabelle hydrangeas perform so beautifully. Now, these haven't even really begun to show color. Well, a couple of them have. Annabelles can handle more sun than you would think. They're in a category called smooth hydrangeas. They all bloom on new wood. This is very, very much of a classical kind of hydrangea. They may almost be getting too big for this space, partly because I propagated some by layering, and I'll show you how I did that in another post. But right now, these are going to be beautiful when they are all in white, and I really didn't think I wanted much white here in the backyard, but they will be a beautiful accompaniment to the Salvia argentea. So maybe adding some white to the backyard isn't such a bad thing after all. This is going to be a huge hedge, and it's also right outside my back door if I want to cut some of them to bring inside, so it's kind of fun. Over here in my potting area, and by the way, all of my topiaries are pretty happy right now. I haven't watered here in the backyard. You never, ever, ever can let them dry out, but I will shortly. But over here in the potting area, man, this seems to be where all of these dragon wing or angel wing begonias want to grow. They're pretty happy here because it's in kind of a part shade, part sun environment. And I see something right here that I need to take care of, and that is, I still have, here is a receptacle that I've missed that I need to empty the water out of so that those mosquitoes, Stuart, don't start propagating in all of these little watery places, including things as small and maybe seemingly insignificant as things like this, because they can fester even in as little as a bottle cap of water. Okay, when we come back, let's go to the front because I want to talk to you about some other things. Okay, another question that you guys have had for me is, what has happened to the ajuga in the back? Well, as you can see, I've got clumps that came back just fine. And then I've got smaller clumps that did not die out, and they are in the process of coming back, and I just keep watering them and feeding them. You may recall that last year I had a really bad powdery mildew problem. So it's okay with me. Whatever comes back will come back, and I will enjoy it. And if it doesn't, that's fine too, because now the plantings have started to mature enough, and I've added enough that it's full even without that ajuga to kind of soften the edges of the brick terrace and just some other hardscape edges that I have. So I'm fine with that. But I just wanted to mention that before we leave and we go to the front yard. Something else I want to mention is if this is a subseason, we're done. In other words, we're done with a major season kind of, or for me anyway, of roses and feverfew and things of that nature. We are also on the cusp of hydrangea season, as I just showed you. In between those two major subseasons, there is so much deadheading to be done. In my container plantings, in the bedded plantings. Part of that is because we just had a lot of rain, and as always after a rain, there is just lots of deadheading to do. But if you're a new gardener, you really need to be mindful of constantly deadheading your blooms and feeding the plant itself so that you continue to get bloom throughout the course of the summer, or at least as long as it is mild enough in temperature and in conditions for them to continue to bloom. I imagine that in, probably about 3 weeks, these geraniums aren't going to be so happy again until in fall. So let's take a break here, and then we will go to the front. Well, here's my outfit du jour. I wanted to show it to you today because I absolutely love my t-shirt. So let's start out with this. This is a recommendation from my sister Meg. She sent me the link and she said, you have got to have this. She bought one for herself, and I thought I needed one too. Not only because of the vegetables and garden things on it, but it's got a little Fiat on it too.
It's got dot.
Yeah, it's got dot on it. So I think that's pretty cute. Okay, so from top to bottom, my sunglasses, I got them online, I think maybe Amazon. My earrings I also bought online. I will definitely put all of these links in the description box below. My belt I have no idea where I got it. I've had it for years. My breeches, they are skinny leg Calvin Klein jeans, and my boots are Red Hunter boots. And just as a little tease, this weekend on Signature Style Saturday, we're going to talk a little bit about jean trends and whether or not you are still a skinny jeans lover, if you like the wide leg jeans trend, the barrel leg jeans trend, straight legs, or if you don't like jeans at all. We're going to explore that a little bit this weekend on Signature Style Saturday. Well, boy, I'm being really lazy today. First I was in the hammock, and now I'm actually sitting underneath my umbrella on the social patio. But I want to tell you about something. I am so excited to share this information with you. I've teased it a little bit before. We've been waiting to see if all of the pieces would fall into place, and indeed I believe they have. I just talked to my buddy John Saldivar, who lives in Falls Village, Connecticut, and as importantly, he lives right across the street from Bunny Williams. And in June, around mid-June, we are going to take a visit to New York City. We're going to go to Falls Village, Connecticut. We're going to visit all sorts of different places. We might go to White Flower Farm. We might visit Paige Dickey's garden. We might visit Edith Wharton's garden. We definitely are going to visit with Bunny if all the stars align, and visit her magnificent home and garden. And oh gosh, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I could not be more excited. And what a lovely, lovely man John is. We've gotten to become friends through Instagram, which is an interesting thing to me, that you can make really good friendships and relationships just through using that little square as a portal. People that you have things in common with, and just, well, it's a way of connection, which is what social media was meant to be initially. So just wanted to give you that tease. We're so excited. Let me know what kind of questions you would want me to ask, what kind of places in that area you would visit if you could, because this is definitely a dream trip for me, and it will be right before the shower for my daughter-in-law. So we've got a lot going on in June. I bet you do too. Okay, well, it definitely was almost unanimous that this become a 3-ball topiary, and I will continue to finesse it a little bit and to work on it. I definitely need to take some more off the bottom to establish the bottom round ball. I need to torture this a little bit to get this to stay in place and fly right, but overwhelmingly the consensus was this needed to be 3 balls. So that obviously is a project that I've got in my future. But let's walk up this way, because as I said earlier, The next sub-season that is on the horizon is hydrangea season. Now, some of them, well, let's just say they were early birds. So there's these beautiful Terra hydrangeas. We showed you, I think in the last segment, didn't we show some pictures of them when they're dried? But they're spectacular. I mean, the blooms are probably the most spectacular of them all. They're just incredible. The density of the petals is fabulous. This, in short order, will become, did I see a little bird in there? Will become just a whole border of white, of really gorgeous, gorgeous white. And it will kind of unfold, and apparently it's going to unfold from south to north, because look here, in today's walkabout, we have the first evidence of buds on these moondance hydrangeas. Now, Jim Putnam on HortTube, he thinks that moondance is even superior to white wedding hydrangeas in the Southern Living Plant Collection line. I kind of think that they are both just equally as marvelous, and I am just happy that I have both. But this is really, really beautiful, and it gets great eastern sun. And look at how well these taiga clematis have held on with all the torrential rains and everything. They've really held on and continue to be beautiful. I'm starting to get the first raspberry hued blooms on my little raspberry butterfly candy. Those are just getting ready to start. It's time for me to do some deadheading on my Brazos penstemon. I've got lots of it that needs to be deadheaded. If I were going to put a perennial in the spotlight right now, at this point in time, if we want to zoom in, Stuart, those pinky white blooms that you see right there, that would be Husker Red penstemon. And it is really one of my new favorites. Every year, that mass, you can see there's some more of it over here, that mass keeps getting bigger, and it blooms for an extended period of time, and then I can whack it back and it will rebloom. Not as vigorously as it did the first time, but nevertheless it can rebloom. But it's a beautiful, beautiful, I think, participant in this whole display right here. And it has gone to seed pretty prodigiously, and that's fine with me. I just will relocate it any place I want to relocate it. Over here, I'm amazed at how much this cup and saucer vine has grown. Look here. What started out as just a few little two inch vines have really started to almost form a mass that I am hoping in short order will be a blooming mass. You can see some of it beginning to crawl up the window, and even on the window pane and over here. And like I say, I have not grown this before. This was another start gifted to me by a friend. I'm so eager to see what the purple blooms look like on this cup and saucer vine. So that's really fun. Okay, one more thing to show you before we take a break, and this is another little surprise over here. I was moving my white containers around. I was doing some deadheading, lots of deadheading to do on these white geraniums as well. And I discovered over here, you have to be keen-eyed, I have a boxwood basil seedling in here.
Sneaky little guy.
Sneaky little guy. Now, should it stay or should it go, my friends? I'm thinking I'm going to leave it here because it would be, it would be fun to have a nice little round ball of basil right here.
It's kind of off to the right.
Yeah. So my inclination is to let it stay here and grow. And regardless of whether it stays or I relocate it, I'm going to pinch it to encourage that very characteristic boxwood shape.
I would have been so afraid to pinch it at that size.
Really?
Doesn't it seem like that would just, like at that size, you should, that's just,
Well,
I don't know anything.
It's a gardening risk worth taking, not only because I think I am safe in doing it, but also because I know I've got other boxwood seedlings in other different places that in case I am too brutal. But I think it's fine. Smells divine, and now I am going to give it pride of place right here as a little boxwood ball on the social patio, because I try to be welcoming not only to guests of the human variety, but also of the herbal variety as well. So when we come back, I'm going to show you a couple of other things. And don't forget to wait till the end, because I'm going to show you something really, really exciting that's coming to the cottage. But right now, let's look at my little pot de Tim inside my tiny little bunny. It is completely filled out now. I think that is very, very sweet. It needs a little bit of a haircut. But of all of the things that I do every year, this is one of my favorite things. I just love small and tiny leaved plants that grow in a cushiony way in small containers. It's just one of the things that I kind of like. The other thing that I've been amazed at in terms of its performance is all of this Scottish moss, which typically by now has already gotten way too hot. But I did a couple of things differently this year that may have contributed to its longevity. Number one, I didn't try to transplant this into anything. I just took the quart-sized pots and I just plopped them down into one of my thrifted baskets. There is a lining on the bottom, and then I just let it grow together and I water it heavily every single day. Now, eventually, do I think it's probably going to get too hot? Yes, but boy, am I enjoying it for the moment right now. Yes, because moss is one of my favorite things. Also coming along nicely are my pots. You can see it's time for me to harvest that black-seeded Simpson lettuce. It's starting to get a little bit of sunstroke. I planted the rest of my white lovelies in my Easter basket. And then here is definitely a viewer comment and my bad. So when I was talking about cutting this back very, very hard, when I had that rosette scare, a keen-eyed follower said, but Linda, you didn't, when you did that first hedge prune of it, you did not disinfect your long hedge shears in between each cut. And no, I did not. I did it initially, but I didn't do it in between each cut, partly because I was probably feeling a little bit overconfident because I didn't think I had any disease. I saw no signs of disease at that point. And so I gave it a one and done. Should I have disinfected it in between each cut? Yes, I should have. Did I do that on my second version? Yes, I did, because then I remembered that that's how you can spread disease. So thank you for pointing that out to me. Somebody else pointed out that, or rather inquired, Linda, what do you use and how do you use insecticidal soap on plants that you think might have spider mite? And when we come back, I'll show you that. Okay, the only place I've seen evidence of spider mite thus far in the garden, and I anticipate I will see more of it as the summer progresses, is on my Nepeta, which is, I've never seen a catmint that did not get spider mite. So what I do, and I'm not going to do it now, and that's because it is very bright and it's very, very sunny out, and I don't in any way want to hurt or damage the foliage in the process of trying to save it from the spider mites. So when I typically do this is very early in the morning when all of this is still in shade. And then what I will do is I will give it a spritz on the outside. I will also give it a spritz underneath, so I get the bottom of the leaves themselves and the interior of the plant. I will also spray the surrounding soil around the drip line of the plant in case it's in some way is harboring some kind of spider mite. And most importantly, I will do this rather repetitively until it puts out a whole lot of new growth. It doesn't seem to me in any way to be infected with those same spider mites. I can see right now that the new foliage seems to be coming out just fine, and pretty soon it will cover up all of this foliage that previously was kind of blemished by those spider mites. Just stay on top of it. If it gets really, really bad and I feel like I'm just not controlling it very well, I will whack this back all the way to the bottom and let it put out a new flush of growth, because you see, as I said earlier, I can safely do that because it is a very, very vigorous perennial. Okay, now this time of year, I am so conflicted about my scabiosa because it really needs to be deadheaded. You can see right there that I've got lots of blooms that are past their prime, and for the blooms to keep coming, I need to deadhead it. But then, by the same token, I love the way the seed heads begin to look when they're mature, and they get this characteristic kind of hive-ish look. And I just love that, and I love the way it looks in the garden and really as kind of a cut flower. So I'm hesitant, I guess, in some respects to do too much deadheading now, because they do have to stay on their stems for a while to get this very, very distinctive look that I just love so much. So it may be that what I end up doing is just deadheading most of it, but leaving certain pockets to continue to let the seed heads mature into this characteristic fashion. Another thing that I'm doing is this area in here really needs some tending. I need to cut back some of the salvia. It, by the way, goes to seed pretty easily and sometimes aggressively, and I do like the way it smells. So I will cut that back. I will deadhead that, in addition to deadheading a lot of the scabiosa, because it's starting to cover up my stepping stones. But the other thing that I'm going to do is really make room for all of this Verbena bonariensis to shine, because you can see it's starting to come into bloom in that favorite lavender color of mine. I absolutely love this, but you can also see that because it's so tall near my stepping stones, that some of it begins to kind of plop over. So what I think I will do is tomorrow morning, I will cut a bouquet of this, because by cutting it, I will get more blooms, and it will also become a thicker, denser, bushier, sturdier plant, because deadheading is the same as pinching. And when I pinch, I get 2 instead of 1. So because I want this kind of ethereal, floating, hovering effect from the Verbena bonariensis from a design perspective, I wanted to do that for the most part, maybe just a little bit lower, so that it is not so unprotected from high winds. And also I want it to hover and float at different levels. Now, when we come back, I'm going to show you something so exciting that's going to be so much fun. It's a little creepy, but we're very, very excited about it. Okay, here's what I'm going to show you. But first, let me answer the question so many of you have asked, and that is, Linda, what happened to your storm door? Well, as you may recall, this was a custom-made storm door, and we just kept having issues with it. It kept getting stuck, particularly with the humid conditions that we had. It would swell and then contract. And at any rate, it is back in the door hospital to be remedied, to be planed, so that we won't continue to have those kind of issues. But it takes a little while for that work to be done. But has it been missed? Oh my goodness, it has been missed. I really can't stand it, because I love being able to be inside and seeing outside. But I digress. Okay, we're going over here. So as an explanation of this, I saw this on Instagram, and I can't remember now whose account it was, but it was a school's Instagram account. And they had purchased from Kind Bee Farms a tiny little beehive house for the school garden. And so I decided if they had one, that I wanted one too. Thank you, Stuart. So I ordered one from Kind Bee Farms, and apparently it comes, we're just now opening it. And apparently it comes with everything you need, including the bees.
Yes, that was the thing. I totally missed them when I looked at it
yeah,
first.
this is freaky. This is freaky. So let's get started. It gives me instructions. We wanted to personally thank you for putting more pollinators into the world. I can't have a huge bee operation like my sister Barb and her husband in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but I can have a smaller one. Okay, so it gives me instructions, find the perfect spot for your bee home. And I will, of course, read all of this before we get ready to install it. But if you grow bees, harvest bees,
Sure
raise
that's
bees,
probably it.
if you have a beehive, then I want feedback from you as to the best location, what kind of experiences you've had, what a bee novice like myself needs to be attentive to and watch out for. But look here, as I said, they send you the bees themselves.
She said, "Did you see the bees?" I said, "Where?"
Yeah, I said,
"What
"Stuart,
bees?"
did you see the bees?" And he said, "Where?" And I said, They're
That's
in the
so
box
crazy.
and you can see them."
It's so insane.
It says, "We are resting. Gently tear off cover.
Hold them still, I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Kindly place in the loft.
You're waking them up.
Work will begin soon." But you can see him moving in there. That is a little bit creepy. I may have to show this to Clara across the street.
She would think this
She
is
would think
interesting.
this is so crazy. Okay, but is this not adorable? And yes, I will put a link to this.
Look at that packaging too.
Oh, and
It's
it
kinda
smells like cedar.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
it smells like cedar. Is this not adorable? So I guess I just put the bees in the loft and then they do their
magic
thing.
happens, yep.
It's as easy as
In the
that.
loft. I like that.
In the loft, yeah.
Yes, you
It comes with a little hook, and I'm thinking I might need an insect hotel to go along with it too. I don't know, but it comes apparently with everything you need, and it's just that simple.
I'm sure people want to see
And
the bees again.
yeah, and it was just here. This is where they will eventually live, up in the loft. I tear this off and then I set it in here.
Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, fortunately, Hubs gets home today, so we can do this together. We can do this together. But I think this is just so fun. And it's also befitting of a cottage garden and befitting of a small garden, because a great big beehive operation wouldn't be conducive, I don't think.
That pun was on purpose, right? You sound
Yeah.
like that pun almost seemed like you did it too smooth. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
on
don't know about that,
purpose.
but I just think it's absolutely adorable. I just love it, and I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it as well, because even though I already have lots of bees, happily, Stuart and I have been counting them. Oh my goodness, we have so many big
I wonder how they'll
bumblebees and
interact.
little honeybees. They're everywhere. You can never have enough. Now, I do expect that I will put this in the back, because that's where I don't have as many bees, and I
Yeah.
want the bees there to be pollinating my vegetables and herbs and things of that nature. So it will go in the back, but I want your input on I don't know, on where I should place it and anything I need to know
Yeah, anything.
about being a good bee mama. I'm going to be a first-time grandmother, and now I'm going to be a first-time bee mama, and that's kind of exciting for me. It's kind of exciting. So there you go. There was my big surprise that I wanted to share with you. It just makes me be very happy. And yeah, that was really bad. But we will, of course, let you know where we decide to install it, what the progress is, if the bees hopefully thrive. And again, if you've got any tips, please make sure to share them with me. Thank you for hanging out with me on today's Wednesday walkabout. We have so much fun content. We're getting ready to do a podcast this afternoon of something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm a little bit intimidated by it, but also very excited. And I just want this whole community to be excited about what the world has to offer. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, follow us if you like, and share this with others if you think they might want to be a part of this wonderful community. Take care.